So let's have a look at some examples determining the exact values of inverse trigonometric functions. The first one, we're asked to determine the exact value of the following: arc sine -1. So we are simplifying this expression. And we have been given arc sine, so this is arc sine of x, and this would normally equal theta. Okay, so we're looking for an angle here, and that theta is going to be between -pi/2 and pi/2. That is our definition, and this is our domain for the inverse function of sine or arc sine. Okay, so which quadrant are we talking about? If we have to be between -pi/2 and pi/2, we are talking about quadrant 4 and quadrant 1. That is the domain that we have defined. So whatever this angle is that we're going to find in a second, this theta, it has to either be in quadrant 1 or in quadrant 4 according to this domain that has been set out like we saw in the theory. Okay? And in order to determine which one of these two quadrants it's in, we look at the value inside here, or the x value. And as you can see up here, this is a -1. So I look at my quadrant chart and I say, where is the sine function negative? Well, all functions are positive in quadrant 1, so it must be quadrant 4. Okay, in quadrant 4, sine is negative, and because this x value is negative, that means this angle that we're finding is going to be in quadrant 4. So let's go ahead and write this. Instead of saying arc sine x equals theta, let's say let arc sine of -1 equal y. Okay, then it looks more like a function like we're used to. We say therefore -pi/2 is smaller or equal to y, which is smaller or equal to pi/2, and this is the important part, the sine of y equals -1. Then just take this arc sine to the other side, and we have the sine of y equals -1. So think about, on a sine graph, where is the sine of y equal to -1, and that is at -pi/2. Therefore y equals -pi/2. Okay, so when y equals pi/2, the sine of -pi/2 is equal to -1, so that checks out, and that means that the arc sine of -1 equals pi/2. So this is our theta, this is our angle that we're talking about, okay, and it is going to be in this fourth quadrant. You can see that it's negative, so that checks out as well. In question B, we've got slightly different notation. We have got the inverse cos of √3/2. Okay, this is the same as the arc cos 3/2, or √3/2. So this is the same thing as in the question before. So we say again, let y equal the inverse cos √3/2. Okay, and what is, we then say what is the domain? So we say y is between, the cos function is 0 and pi. We are dealing with a cos function here, so let me just rewrite this a little bit. Therefore the cos of y equals √3/2. So that's what this is saying, and this is easy to see here. We've got y equals inverse con, that should be cos, inverse cos 3/2, therefore cos of y equals √3/2. So I'm looking for cos of √3/2. So cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So which side is √3 adjacent to? It is the angle pi on 6. So I'm dealing with pi on 6 in this case. Y equals pi on 6. And in this last example, we've been given arctan of negative root 3. Let's set this out correctly again. So therefore, let y equal arctan of negative root 3. Let's define the domain. Therefore, y, think about the tan function here, it's between negative pi on 2, that's 90 degrees, let me just write that a little bit neater. Therefore, y is between negative pi on 2 and bigger than pi on 2. Okay, not equal to, because of those asymptotes. Therefore, the tan of y equals negative root 3. You might as well put this on 1 to make it simpler for yourself. I'm looking for the angle where opposite over adjacent is root 3 on 1. So which one am I dealing with? I'm dealing with pi on 3. Okay, so I'm dealing with pi on 3, so therefore y equals pi on 3, but now I need to figure out, is it a positive angle or is it a negative angle? Because this value inside the bracket is negative again, I will be dealing with the fourth quadrant, which is the negative angle. So I'm dealing with negative pi on 3. That'll give me this 60 degrees or pi on 3. So that is my final answer. Or you could say, therefore, the arctan of negative root 3 is the same as negative pi on 3.